I want to start with something that I think a lot of you already know to be true. You're doing more than you have ever done in your life. You have more roles, more responsibilities, more tools to learn, more planners to use, more routines, more resets, more systems, more trying. And yet, your life still feels chaotic. Not sometimes, most days. And if you're anything like multi-role, multi-responsibility people, there is a quiet voice somewhere in the back of your mind that says something must be wrong with me because I am trying everything and it is still not working. I want to say something to you clearly right now before we go any further. Nothing is wrong with you. But something is wrong with the approach. And in this episode, I want to show you exactly what it is. Because the reason your life feels more chaotic, even though you're doing more, is not a discipline problem. It is not a motivation problem. It is not even a time management problem. It is a structure problem. And once you say it, you cannot unsay it. And at the end, I will give you one practical exercise you can do today right after this episode finishes. That should start to change how you see your whole life. So stay with me, guys. Okay, so let's get into the first reason, and I call it the complexity trap. Most people think that adding a new responsibility adds one thing to their life, like one task, one role, one new item on the list. But that is not how complexity works. When you add a new responsibility, like a new job, a new promotion, new child, a new commitment, anything new, you're not just adding that one thing, you're adding every single interaction that new thing has with everything that you already have in your life. Let me give you a picture of what I mean. Imagine your life as a table, and on that table right now, there are 5 different things: your career, your relationship, your marriage, your health, your children, your personal goals. We are assuming it's just 5 things on the table right now. Now you go ahead and add one more thing to it. For example, promotion, business, or you just decided you wanted to be a content creator. Or maybe suddenly someone is sick and now you are the primary caregiver. One new thing. Here is what most people expect, right? They now have 6 things on the table, but here is what actually happens. That one new thing now has a relationship with every existing thing that you already have. Your career now interacts with your new relationship differently. Your health is now impacted by a new schedule. Your children are affected by a different version of you right now. Your personal goals now have to compete with a new demand on your energy. So you did not actually add one thing to the table, you added connections between that new thing and every existing thing. In systems thinking, we call this interdependency. And interdependency is what complexity does, not grow in a straight line. It's compounds it. Now, this is why the woman with 10 years of life experience often feels more overwhelmed than the woman who's just starting out. Not because she is less capable, but because the complexity of her system has grown exponentially and the structure that is underneath all of those is the same all year long. Now, but because the complexity of a system has grown so big, but the structure underneath it is not keeping up with the growth. So she just kept adding to the table, but nobody showed her how to redesign it. So that is the first reason. The complexity of your life has grown faster than the structure underneath it. Now, let me tell you about the second reason. And this one, I want you to really hear it because most people have never had this named for them before. And I call it the role switch tax, like context switching. Every single day you move between roles. You wake up as a mother, you get on a call and become a professional. Immediately, you pick up the children and become a mother. Again, you sit down in the evening to work on your own goals and you try to become yourself. Now, every single one of those transitions cost you something. Researchers call it attention residue. Now, when you switch from one role to another, part of your brain stays behind in the previous context. You are physically present in the new role, but cognitively, mentally, you are still partly in the last one. So you are never fully anywhere because the professional you is still thinking about the school pickup, the parent you is still carrying the unfinished work email, and the person trying to rest is still processing the whole day entirely. And because you're never fully anywhere, everything takes more energy than it should. Everything feels harder than it looks from the outside. And at the end of a full productive day, you still feel like you achieved nothing. Now, that feeling is not in your head, it is the accumulated cost of every role switch you made that day. Now, here is the part nobody talks about. The more roles you carry, the more transitions you make every day, and the higher your tax bill. So, this is why you can have a full night of sleep and still wake up tired. I experience this a whole lot. This is why you can finish a genuinely productive day and still feel like you are behind. This is why you can do everything on the list and still feel like you failed. You are not behind on task. Actually, you are behind on transitions. So the truth is, your life has no structure for how you move between roles. So every switch costs double what it should. And until you design that structure, the tax keeps compounding every single day. So we talked about the complexity trap, why adding more to your life compounds the chaos, and we have talked about the role switch tax. That is why moving between roles costs more than we realize. Now I want to talk about the third reason, and this one might genuinely surprise you. More planning is making it worse. Not because planning is bad, but because of how most of us plan. When life is chaotic, the natural instinct is to just add more structure, download another app, buy a new planner, just build a new money routine, just start a new system. That is what everybody tells you, and that is what you do. And it works, maybe for about 2 weeks or so. It does work. Then the app becomes one more thing to check. The planner becomes one more thing to fill. The routine becomes one more thing to maintain. The new system becomes part of the chaos, and you're back to square one. Literally back to square one. Except now you also have the guilt of another system you cannot keep up with. Here is why this keeps happening. You cannot build a stable structure on an unstable foundation. If the underlying architecture of your life is unclear, how your rules connect, how your time is allocated, how your priorities are actually defined, then every new system you had is just more complexity layered on top of an existing chaos. And I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine trying to decorate a house that has no walls. You bring in beautiful furniture, you hang thoughtful artwork around the house, you arrange everything perfectly, and it keeps falling down. Not because the furniture is wrong, not because your taste is wrong, but because the structure that was supposed to hold it was never built. And that is what most productivity advice does. It gives you furniture, beautiful one, well-designed, evidence-based furniture, right? Without ever helping you build the walls. It gives you tools without the foundation, like different strategies, routines without architecture. And the result is what you're already living. A life full of systems that do not talk to each other. Routines that are collapsing, they are not connecting. The moment life gets hard, and a persistent feeling that you're always catching up, but never quite getting anywhere. So those are the three reasons: the complexity trap, the role switching tax, the planning paradox. There are three structural reasons why doing more is not making your life feel more organized. It is making it feel more chaotic. So what do we do about it? The answer is not doing more. It is not a better app. It is not waking up earlier. It is not more discipline or more willpower or more sacrifice. It is this: design the foundation first. Before you add a new system or any new routine, any new tool, any new commitment at all, you need to understand the architecture of your life. You need to understand the many roles that you are carrying. How do they connect to each other? How are they communicating to each other? Where exactly is the complexity compounding? Where are you running on pure effort and willpower and vibes and inshallah? Because there is no structure holding that part of your life. Now, this is what systems thinking does. It does not give you a to-do list. It gives you a map. And when you have a map, You can see your life as a whole system rather than a collection of disjointed or disconnected tasks and rules. Something shifts, not because your responsibilities get smaller. They do not. You're still carrying every single role, everything on your back like a camel. You still carry them as you've always done, but you're carrying it differently with structure, proper structure underneath it, with clarity about how each part connects as a whole, holistically, with a design that absorbs your complexity instead of collapsing underneath it. Now, this is what I mean when I say from chaos to structure. Not a perfect life, not a simple life, a structured one. And a structured life, even a complex, demanding, full to the brim, multiple roles, multiple hats life, feels completely different to carry. Now, I want to give you something practical, something you can do today, like right after this episode ends. I want to give it to you here rather than just saying, no, go find it in the description because I want you to actually have it. Okay. I call it the role audit, and it is the very first step in understanding the architecture of your own life. And here is what I want you to do right now. You need to grab a piece of paper, not your phone, not an app, a piece of paper and a pen. I want you to write down every single role you carry, not your task, not a to-do list, your roles. Mother, father, parent, professional, student, business owner, friend, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, community member, whatever is true for your life right now, write them down. Then next to each role, I want you to write one word that describes how that role currently feels to carry. Not how you want it to feel, but how it actually feels right now. How does it feel being a mother? How does it feel being a father? Some will feel heavy, some will feel light, and some will probably feel invisible. Now, these are the roles you're carrying that nobody, including yourself, has ever really acknowledged. Now, I want you to look at that list. That is your complexity map. That is the actual weight you are carrying every single day, not tasks, not appointments, just roles. And I want you to sit with this question. Which of these roles has a system underneath it? And which ones are you running on pure effort and willpower alone? Because wherever you are running on willpower, that is where the chaos is coming from. That is where the structure is missing, and that is where we are going to start. Okay, let me bring this together before we close. Your life feels more chaotic even though you are doing more for three structural reasons. First, the complexity trap. Every new responsibility you had does not add one thing to your life. It adds every connection between that new thing and everything that you already have. That's already there. The second one is the role switch tax. Every time you move between roles, your brain pays an attention cost. Most roles means more switches. More switches means more tax. And that is why you can do everything and still feel behind, tired all day. Then the third one is the planning paradox. You cannot build a stable structure on an unstable foundation. More systems without architecture is just more complexity on top of chaos. Now, the answer is not doing more. It is designing the foundation, and the role audit I walked you through today, right now, is where that design begins. I want to hear from you. After you do the role audit, leave me a comment with one role that you are currently running on pure willpower right now. You literally have no system underneath it. You're just going, go with effort. Tell me what it is, because your answer will likely shape the next episode I make, and I read every single comment, every single one of them. Now, if this video gave you a different way of seeing your life, even one idea that landed, subscribe to Systems Based Life so don't miss the one coming next. Every episode is designed to help you understand why your life feels the way it does and to build a system that changes. And if you're struggling with consistency in any part of your roles, your life, build a tool called a consistency operating system. You're gonna love it, and you're gonna find a link in the description. Thank you so much, guys, for spending your time with me today. day. My name is Dupe, and this is Systems Based Life. And I'm gonna see you in another episode. Bye, guys.